first one was Swing Shift. So we did that and we met there, we fell in love, and then we got together and we had a baby.
She made the world laugh with just a smile. Goldie Hawn, America's sweetheart, Oscar winner, and queen of feel-good movies. But few people know that she once signed a contract with Playboy magazine and shocked Hollywood when she dared to refuse a sensitive relationship with a director. And now, after 2 broken marriages, what has she faced? And why did she refuse that relationship? Let's take a closer look at her personal life through these rare photos. In the 1970s, a period of great personal liberation and the strong rise of feminism, Goldie Hawn was one of the most sought-after pop culture icons in Hollywood. With her bright smile, innocent and rebellious look, and charming acting ability, she quickly conquered the hearts of millions of fans across America. But few people knew that behind that halo was a secret negotiation program that she was involved in. A never-before-revealed deal with Playboy, the most controversial and powerful magazine at that time. It was not until today, nearly 45 years later, that a series of internal documents leaked from Playboy's private archives caused a stir in the media, revealing a shocking truth. Goldie Hawn was almost the cover face of an iconic issue of Playboy. But everything fell apart at the last minute, so what was the reason? According to leaked documents, in mid-1972, when Goldie Hawn was one of Hollywood's brightest stars, after winning an Oscar for the film Cactus Flower, she suddenly became the target of Hugh Hefner, the powerful founder of Playboy magazine. At a time when Playboy was not only a pornographic publication, but also considered a cultural icon for modern men, Hefner's personal plan to approach Hawn showed his great ambition to reposition the Playboy image through a face that was both sexy and intelligent, both famous and artistic. Goldie Hawn, with her doll-like sweet appearance and natural charm, also had an independent and sharp spirit, making Hefner believe that she was the next symbol of women's liberation that he wanted Playboy to represent. To convince her, a bold proposal was made, a salary of up to $500,000, a record at the time, along with a commitment to give Hawn complete control over the concept of the shoot, from photographer to set. It was not just a financial negotiation, but a strategic move. For Goldie Hawn, it was a test of personal boundaries and inner values. For Hugh Hefner, it was a bold move to save Playboy's image from increasingly harsh criticism from the intellectual world. A negotiation that was kept secret for nearly half a century, until the truth began to emerge. Goldie Hawn's reaction to Playboy's offer was not simple or emotional. It was a mixture of bravery, intelligence, and a clearly defined personal value system. Instead of immediately refusing as many people thought, Goldie agreed to meet with Playboy representatives in a long private conversation at a luxury villa in Beverly Hills. In a space filled with the smell of cigars, classical music, and red wine, the actress did not hesitate to share her opinion. She is not against women taking sexy photos, as long as it comes from their own choice, not because of social pressure or imposition from men. An internal Playboy memo also revealed Hawn's critical statement. Does me doing this make women feel stronger? Or does it just make me a tool for the male gaze? The question not only stunned the Playboy team, but also showed that Goldie was not a star who could be easily conquered by the halo or money. Although she still left the possibility of cooperation open, Hawn made a bold condition. She requested to choose a female photographer to do the entire photo shoot concept, something Playboy had never agreed to before. This request, although stemming from ethical reasons and feminist orientation, caused the negotiation process to fall into a deadlock. For Hawn, nothing can be exchanged for money, especially her dignity and autonomy. The breakdown in negotiations between Goldie Hawn and Playboy was not about money, but about irreconcilable principles. One of the conditions Hawn set was that she would not pose fully nude. She was willing to show off her sexy, pointed nose, but only within the limits she felt comfortable and respected. Hugh Hefner, famous for his tight control over the content of his magazine, is said to have initially agreed to that condition, at least nominally. However, copying from an internal Playboy meeting in 1973 revealed in leaked documents, the editorial staff still hoped to get Goldie to open up a little more after everyone agreed to sign. It was a familiar tactic that Playboy had used with many models, but in Hawn's case, it backfired completely. Goldie learned of this through a friend who was working on the production and felt deeply betrayed. Although the formal contract had not yet been signed, she had agreed to certain terms in writing, which put both parties in a complicated legal bind. Ultimately, the parties agreed to separate quietly, ending the entire project. However, the legacy of the work was not completely lost. For decades, rumors of Goldie Hawn turning down Playboy have persisted in the entertainment industry. In 1970, Goldie faced a dark period when her career was frozen when she refused an off-screen relationship with a director, then considered the most powerful in Hollywood. The incident happened around the late 70s, when Goldie was at the height of her fame after the resounding success of Shampoo, 1975, and Foul Play, 1978. In an era when power in Hollywood was almost completely controlled by the men behind the camera and the studio executive desk, any young actress knew that pleasing those characters was not only professional, but sometimes also a personal, even morally ambiguous relationship. Goldie Hawn was not someone to be easily subdued. When a famous director, an Oscar winner, and considered a box office magician offered her the female lead in a promising project, Goldie was very excited. The role, according to multiple sources, was designed almost exclusively for her. A strong, deep character, completely free from the innocent doll image that the public has labeled her. It is an opportunity for Goldie to prove her artistic depth and maybe even win another Oscar nomination. Things slowed down quickly, however, after a private dinner that, according to a close friend of Goldie, had a personal connotation. The director, known for his politeness and tact, made the emotional comment that, to get the role, she needed to commit on more levels. When Goldie responded bluntly, refusing any intimacy outside of work, the conversation ended in a cold and needy manner. A few days later, her name suddenly disappeared from the project's cast list. No concrete solution was offered. At the briefing, the director only offered to say that we were looking for another direction for the role. But Hollywood knew better than anyone. Goldie had refused, and the price of refusal was a lingering existence for months. The consequences were not immediate, but they were clear. Scripts were gradually increasing. Lead roles were all but lost for a while. Several studios started projects at the mention of her name. Goldie, who had long been a symbol of the modern independent woman, was associated with words like cooperative, uncontrollable, too outspoken. In a system where women are often expected to be docile and good, maintaining principles and self-respect became a valuable weakness. It was at that point that Goldie decided not to stay silent. Instead of waiting for roles from powerful male directors, she began producing her own films. In 1980, she released Private Benjamin, in which she not only starred, but also co-produced. The film was a huge success, grossing over $60 million, and earning Goldie an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. It was the most resounding response to those who had once thought she was just a flower vase. The incident with the director position was never publicly discussed by Goldie. But in an interview many years later, when asked if she had ever missed an opportunity because she refused a sensitive relationship, she answered simply, "There are times when you have to choose between your career and your self-respect. I always choose the latter, because if I lost that, what would I have to be proud of every time I looked in the frame?" That answer not only speaks to the strength of Goldie Hawn, but also reflects the bitter reality that many women in the film industry have, and still do, face. But at the same time, it is also inspiring that a woman can be stopped, but not extinguished, as long as she stands up for herself. If Goldie Hawn's story reflects on the senses and values of a woman in a world full of gender, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next dark corners of Hollywood.